before they're grilled to perfection over a mesquite wood fire. And when paired with one of our signature sides, well, the only thing you need to bring is an appetite. Now that's quality, delivered to your table. Harvey's, a difference you can taste.
Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather at 5.
Well, happy Memorial Day, and thank you so much for trusting us here on Mississippi Live Weather. It is 5 p.m., and we just want to, of course, say thank you to all of those who have served our country and, of course, died in service to our country over the years. Without those choices that you have made, that clearly myself, Gabe, and those of us that are here have not, our freedoms would not be what they are. So we're just so thankful for those that have chosen that life to allow us to be able to choose to do something like this and create this live streaming platform that we have. And we thank you, of course, for watching us and supporting us here. It has been a rainy day. It's been a rainy weekend, been a rainy week. Soggy evening continues. We're tracking the latest again with Mama Justice Doppler radar on where those showers and thunderstorms are here in a couple minutes. As we've talked about the last few days here in the Room to Room Weather Center, the soggy conditions will continue. I think rain chances in some form or fashion linger into a lot of this week. We're going to break that down in much more detail with our meteorologist Gabe Maynor here in a few moments. And then again, looking at conditions drying out by June. Wouldn't take much to be drier than where we have been. We'll look at that transition coming up here in a couple minutes. This evening, though, as you'll notice on that hour-by-hour forecast, rain continues. We're at 60% of that coverage now, but we're really kind of wringing out some of the moisture. We've had a couple of these waves moving up from the coast we call mesoscale convective vortices, or MCVs, basically just kind of a little spin in the atmosphere caused by a big flare-up of thunderstorm someplace else. It's caused the storms we've had, the rain we've had, and will continue to have over the next few hours, but we're wringing some of that moisture out right now. That's why that coverage diminishes later on into this evening. And mainly in the lighter green shown up there across our area, looking on Mama Justice Doppler radar. Let's go ahead and we'll look at a couple of things. First off, we do still have what we would refer to as a river flood warning, or a flood warning in effect for parts of Tala, Carroll, and Holmes counties in effect until 7 p.m. Wednesday. Again, along Big Black River there, some heavy rainfall amounts that we have experienced lately. Part of the reason for that. And before we go any further, that's probably the number one thing we need to kind of hit here for a second, is the rainfall accumulations. Just over the last 24 hours, fairly widespread amounts, half inch or so, but clearly you could see the zone down here closer to Macon where we show some of the oranges there, where estimations just in the last 24 hours there up in excess of 3 to 4 inches of rain, and everywhere in the yellows 2 or more inches of rainfall. And just, considering where we've been over the last week, those same spots, estimations 9 inches, almost 10 inches down there in DeKalb County. I mean, you can see here everywhere it's pink, that's 7 or more inches up closer to Tupelo. So you might have thought we were exaggerating a little bit when we sat here last week and said 7, 8 inches of rainfall possible some spots. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your perspective on this, I think in most cases we probably agree, unfortunately, that has been the way this has played out, with only a few spots out there, Franklin County, Alabama, a couple spots where we have not been up there in excess of 2 inches. Almost everybody else has seen well in excess of that. Bringing it back to latest scans here on Mama Justice Doppler radar, and we'll go ahead and make this a loop. We'll make this loop longer. We'll make it, say, a 3-hour loop here for a moment. You can see, generally speaking, this kind of general sort of spin that we have associated with this. You also see some of the drier air cutting in from the west. That's going to start to begin the process of trying to eliminate some of this rainfall there as the drier air kind of spreads eastward. Still some spots where the rain is still pretty hefty at this time. Of course, Golden Triangle will be one of those locations I think we'd qualify as that, stretching up toward Caledonia. Good thing for us, we have a camera there in Caledonia. We can kind of check and see firsthand what some of the heaviest looks like at this point. And out there right now in Lowndes County, coming in again with that murkiness, that cloudiness, that raininess that we have seen. 73 current temperature on our North Mississippi Storm Chasers camera there in the Caledonia area. Obviously very humid, visibility low. It's all the same things we've seen pretty much nonstop the last few days. Up in Houston, similar shot there in Chickasaw County, that we have better visibility toward the horizon, 72, the temperature there in Chickasaw County as well. Pontotoc County, similar look as of this hour. As you can see, closer to Okolona down in Chickasaw County where the rainfall is, just mainly lighter variety stuff in and around the Pontotoc area at this point. That red dirt there, probably pretty soggy. That's been the case for a lot of folks lately. And up there in the Iuka area, showing up with, again, the cloudiness as our camera there shows 72. And a lot of folks were always hoping to get a good weekend the head of the lake around Memorial Day. As we talked about last week, the rain has been continuous and troublesome. And up there in parts of Tishomingo County still remains the case at this point in time. Not a lot of lightning, though. See very few strikes, so it's disruptive, but not necessarily dangerous, other than the flooding potential that we have there. Another heavier batch showing up for locations back out around Hamilton, Alabama. Looking at this, again, all these showers, again, moving northward. Speed on all these there, about 20, 25 miles per hour. But it's just this, some version of somewhat continuous rainfall. Continuing to kind of rotate northward through the area because of this. That's why, again, flash flood concerns remain the case, albeit at this point here, no official flash flood warnings out there. It's just with the rainfall, what we have had, additional significant accumulations could occur. So speaking to that point, looking at, kind of where we go from here, rainfall amounts over the next day or so, mainly in the half-inch to inch range, looking forward here. And over the next 3 days, you don't see really many yellows on there. We're hoping we're starting to turn off the tap as far as the heaviest rainfall is concerned. Of course, Gabe will be talking a lot more about that coming up here in a couple moments. Back over to Mama Justice Doppler. We're going to go kind of on a wider shot here for a moment to kind of look at the overall pattern. Again, it's been a wide open Gulf. This low pressure center helping us out. For some folks down there on the coast, some tornado warnings, believe it or not, with this moisture coming right off the Gulf there. And so we've seen as this low slowly works its way back toward the east that will start to turn the rainfall down somewhat more 24 to 48 hours. Though still, as long as it's overhead, we're going to have at least a limited chance, and we'll have a few of these that might have an occasional rumble. Heavy rainfall, the main impact. We're not thinking severe weather this far north. Of course, Gabe will be breaking down those threats here in just a moment, but continue to wrap around some of those showers here 3, 4 o'clock in the morning for early tomorrow. And as you head back to work for your Tuesday, there will be probably more showers than this indicates. As you noticed the last couple of days, the lighter rainfall only so picked up on here. It'll remain drizzly. It'll remain still somewhat rainy again to begin tomorrow, though the heaviest of the rainfall hopefully shifting to the east and back to the west. It's kind of like, well, how can it be both directions? Kind of wrapping back around this. So you'll notice the coverage of rainfall more limited on your Tuesday, starting off around 20% of that rain coverage, 6 a.m., 10% by 9 a.m. I think it'll pick back up with a few more thunderstorms in the afternoon. High temperatures, lower 80s, so that is warmer than today, but not the full-on June-like heat, though that's not that far away. We'll look in more detail at the timing as we start warming things up and hopefully dry things out. And take a peek down there toward the coast. I know a lot of folks tend to go down to the beach for the holiday. Some tornado warnings down there. We'll look at that in a little more detail as Mississippi Live Weather continues here from the Room to Room Weather Center in 60 seconds.
At First Choice Bank, we know you can't always make it before the bank closes. With our integrated teller, you can talk to a live person as late as 7 p.m. on weekdays and noon on Saturdays. It's not just an ATM, it's an ITM. First Choice Bank, your choice for banking.
The bravest thing that my dad has done has been going back to school.
It wasn't when he first enlisted, it was when he found his first support group.
The bravest thing she did is when she asked for help.
We're all just trying to keep things running for those who rely on us. That's why we don't have time to be sick with the flu.
We don't have time for delays.
We don't have time for spills.
Next.
We don't have time for setbacks. Let's be real.
Getting the flu shot
helps you fight the flu.
Get a flu shot for yourself and those around you too.
Right now, from the Room to Room Weather Center, here's Mississippi's Chief Meteorologist, Matt Lovhawn.
We'll look it down for folks at the coast. It's kind of rough down there. It has been obviously rainy up here in North Mississippi, but severe weather down there. A couple of tornado warnings down in Walton County, Florida, where I know a lot of folks tend to go for down in the Florida Panhandle for big holidays like this. Some tornado warnings down that direction. If you ever happen to find yourself down there, you need to make sure you follow these guys. What I have pulled up behind me here are friends at Panhandle Weather. They're in the digital weather network, just like all of us here at Mississippi Live Weather are. And so they're looking at some of their cameras they have on the beach. They do the exact same kind of coverage we do up here in North Mississippi. And the name is Panhandle Weather. So if you happen to be watching us, by the way, at the beach, going like, okay, we need Matt to tell us what's going on. I'll tell you this, Dan Nyman and Chris Smith from down there at the beach, as you can see, this is their live stream that they have going on YouTube right now. But search for Panhandle Weather. They're tracking these storms the exact same way we would track it up here. Let's just say this, I'd put my family in their hands tracking this. I know they do an excellent job with that. And so we're glad to be partners with them. There's Chris Smith, who has tons of experience there in the Florida Panhandle related to this. And so we're just excited to be kind of working alongside he and Dan as they're tracking those thunderstorms down there. Person, of course, I'm always very, very happy to be working alongside of is our meteorologist, Gabe Maynor. No matter where he's standing, we like to have him on camera.
I like
there.
to hide a little bit.
Oh, anyway, hey, Gabe, rain has been the story, though, clearly. I mean, you can see behind me down at the beach, they've got those issues. Obviously, it's been a big deal up here as well.
A big time, especially over this 7-day stretch. And that's why these totals that have been added to it from today are causing some potential flooding concerns. But flooding concerns being the only concerns that we have, as you saw down there at Panhandle Weather, tracking out those tornado warnings. Not going to have any tornadoes in our forecast heading into the start of this week. What we get, though, is an abundant amount of rainfall, like Matt was mentioning down in Macon. 4+ inches possible in some spots. And then as we work our way up towards the Alabama state line, this is where Caleb was tracking yesterday evening, panning out exactly how Futurecast models were depicting. So we gave a little bit of a heads up, and hopefully you grab that umbrella as a precautionary measure. As we look at our Mama Justice Doppler radar right now, again, the heaviest portions all the way towards the Mississippi and Alabama state line. We jump out west. Cleveland, Shelby, Clarksdale, West Helena, seeing additional development and even a few rumbles, not impossible either. But when we're talking rumbles, we have had 2 over the last half hour. So this is not an active setup by any means, but don't be shocked if you hear a rumble. Just know that you're one of the few that are experiencing that so far today. And as we look at those rainfall rates as well, those heavier portions just east of Caledonia, that's where we have a view there through our North Mississippi Storm Chaser camera looking into this storm. And it was, of course, a little bit heavier momentarily, but now as it's shifted more east into Lamar County, it has come down in intensity just a bit. Now, that doesn't mean rain chances are gone forever. No, they're just more light to moderate in variety compared to the heavier stuff that it had earlier on. See some of those drops there falling in the camera lens. Out west, I mentioned Clarksdale a moment ago, getting some of those heavier sections moving through Clarksdale. Overall, what I'm seeing right there isn't exactly impressive, but as we see those showers and storms move through portions along and east of Highway 61, well, some heavier sections are expected. So if you're out there close to Clarksdale, just a little bit of a warning there that you're going to be getting some heavy showers. Iuka, dealing with some light to moderate showers as well, but this is the case all across North Mississippi. As you saw, we used a camera down towards our southeast part of our viewing area, out west, and even towards our northeast. So we're covering all 4 corners, and it is not exactly going to be a dry situation wherever you look. So as we debut our pool day forecast, not a pool day by any means. Going to be dodging those showers heading into tomorrow. And as we look ahead into that countdown to August 1st, we are 67 days. I know the kids enjoying that number, and they're also enjoying their time off from school. And that UV index going to be high if you're able to get some of that sunshine, but overall going to be dodging those showers. So it is not going to be a dreary day or a sunny day by any means. Now I'm going to adjust Futurecast back right here over to our viewing area to give you guys a look at what we're experiencing. And overall, it's just going to be those showers that continue to work through the North Mississippi area with those heavier sections back towards the Mississippi and Alabama state line. Now, as this low pressure system lifts more towards the north, it'll work these bands of rainfall towards the north as well, and that'll carry the bulk of these rain chances out of our area. Now, not entirely, but a vast majority of it, even by 2 a.m. And with that being said, these reds that are showing up, more indicative of heavy rainfall, but that's also where we could get those few rumbles of thunder. Emphasis on a few. It's not a ton by any means, so that active stretch still going to be further towards our south, whereas here in North Mississippi, it's just going to be the focus on the rainfall. 6 a.m., dodging some showers, but this is a bit drier from where we've been at today, so seeing those limited chances throughout the start of our Tuesday morning. And I know that we're in that summer schedule, so if you're waking up at 6 a.m., well, sleep in a little bit more if you're dealing with those showers and wait for those to pass on by. We're 66 Houston and Amory for the start of our Tuesday, 68 Belzona, Greenville, 66 Senatobia and South Haven, where our meteorologist Maggie McCauley will be tracking those limited chances early on your Tuesday. That low pressure system continues to be the story, and that lifts well towards our north up into Tennessee. Our friends there at Tennessee Valley Weather are going to be tracking that, so the whole community on the Digital Weather Network going to be active due to this one individual system. A lot of us tracking rainfall, but as you saw down south in Panhandle weather, tracking some strong storms there. So as we continue throughout our Tuesday, overall chances remain pretty minimal. And one of the things that we were watching for was this cluster, this batch of showers and storms out there towards Alabama. Now, big thing with this positioning is the fact of where it has lined up. So as you can see, well off there towards Birmingham and closer to Tuscaloosa, whereas here in North Mississippi, our chances are few and far between. Yes, there are some heavier downpours out there by 3 o'clock towards Clarksdale and Shelby once again, but as those will work on through, that's one boundary we're watching, but watch as I expand things out and you can really get a visual at the widespread chances. Now, if you saw earlier on, our Tuesday rain chances were anywhere from 50 to 60%. Well, as each model run has come out, it's pushed those rain chances further towards the south and east, and while we are going to be seeing some heavier sections towards Knoxville and Pickens County, that's really it in our coverage area. Yes, there will be a few additional showers, but the widespread stuff, that's what I wanted to take a look at. And as you see, rainfall totals on our Tuesday, a few areas getting 1, 2, maybe 3 or 4 inches. So that's the heavier sections. Honestly, that right there is from later on tonight. But heading into tomorrow, additional inch and a half possible. But look down south where they're going to be getting abundant chances. And I wish we could take off what we're getting tonight and just focus on tomorrow. But I'm here to tell you that a lot of this in Birmingham, Huntsville, Decatur, even out there towards Tuscaloosa, going to be from tomorrow's chances. Whereas that coverage in our area right now, that's really from what we're getting tonight. Tomorrow, not going to be as much. High temperatures were 82 Holly Springs, Senatobia, and Tunica, 83 Grenada, Bruce, and Houston, 82 Starkville and Columbus, and 80 towards Iuka, even there towards Vernon, Alabama. Now, I talked about that individual boundary for our Tuesday going to be the main producer of rainfall. That's from Clarksdale to Sardis up there towards Holly Springs. But that boundary eventually shifts more into our area, and our strike model a little bit more ambitious on these chances. We'll see that in just a moment. But as you see, heading into our Wednesday morning, our HRRR even hinting at a few of those heavier downpours in the northwest section of our viewing area and lingering there along the Tennessee state line closer to Wednesday around pre-dawn and into that morning commute. We're 67 Houston, Tupelo, and Eupora, 70 Belzona and Cleveland, 68 Tunica, and 68 down there towards Kosciuszko as well. Throughout your Wednesday, this is again a look at our HRRR and strike model, and you'll see how those chances kind of change over and become much more widespread, getting all of those chances mixing in there towards the Golden Triangle. And there's your change over to strike, and you see that the strike is way more ambitious on these rain chances. Honestly, I don't think it's completely out of the question that we get this coverage. But overall, with our HRRR trying to come down on those chances, I think it's good that we show both because you're able to gauge, the best and worst case scenario in regards to how much rainfall we'll receive. Now, if the strike model does prevail, and I do think that there's an in-between, a happy medium there between the two that we're going to be receiving, you can see there are some heavier sections, even this one out there towards Montgomery County showing up and going to be a pretty heavy downpour, but those are not going to be as abundant. And as we work our way into those evening hours, it's primarily going to be a light to moderate rainfall, but those brief heavy chances are what we're watching to add to, what are we at now? Several inches, 6, 7, 8 inches here in North Mississippi alone in some specific spots. We'll see those 7-day totals. I have not touched my rain gauge this week because I wanted to see what we reached over a week span, so I'll have that coming up tomorrow as well. But needless to say, it's a lot. 87 Columbus, 87 Kosciuszko and Eupora, 86 Bruce and Grenada, 85 Tunica and Senatobia. I think a big reason why we're able to say that we're not going to be as widespread as the strike is because temperatures are increasing. Some of that heat, reason why we haven't been as hot is because it has been a pretty gloomy forecast. Whenever you take out that moisture and we allow those temperatures to climb, well, that means that those rain chances are coming down just a bit. So I have us sitting at around 30%. That could jump up. That could also drop down Wednesday and Thursday, but overall, I like that medium there at 30%. Thursday, same thing, 30. Friday, jumping up for some of those widespread chances as an additional system moves into town. And those chances, once that system clears out, those chances start to come down a bit. How long has it been since we've seen a 10% in the forecast? It's been about a week, but as we work into early next week, this time next week, could be talking about a whole different forecast. In fact, I believe we will heading into the start of our June season. So finally, right, we can have the gloomy, muddy forecast out of our picture, and we're going to be enjoying some dry conditions heading into parts of next week. But over this 6-day stretch, we do still have several chances of rainfall, so keep that umbrella ready. You will put it to good use as we go about this week. So make sure to also have that Mississippi Live Weather app handy and ready to go as we track these rain chances, because we have our Mama Justice Doppler radar able to track those out for you and let you know where those rain chances are moving through. That for all of North Mississippi. And we'll have our live broadcast coming up at 6 o'clock tonight. In addition to our 5 o'clock that we are in right now, we're going to be going over these rain chances using our storm finder to track these out. And as we track it into the latter hours, what we're going to be doing there is assessing the new models and how that compares to what we've received. So if you're looking for maybe a change in the forecast, that's why you need to watch at 9 and 10 as we go over that in much more detail. And speaking of later broadcasts, we're going to be dabbling in sports a little bit more, hearing from our Will Kohlmeyer on some of the previews of our college matchups this week. He'll have the latest on who's playing, where they're playing, and what time that game is at, coming up at 6, 9, and 10 tonight.